What should you do when you've come short so many times in life? When you set a goal for yourself and you come up short, what do you do? Me personally, I've came up short many times in my life, right? For example, when I was a kid, I wanted to be jacked. Well, I still want to be jacked, right? But looking back, I wanted to be jacked. I would, on Snapchat, like take a picture and then write my goal is, be jacked, low body fat, big shoulders, big chest, big forearms, all of that, right? I would write, by the end of this year, I want to have $10,000 in my bank account and I want to accomplish this and that. And then I get the memory from 1 year later and I realized I haven't accomplished none of that. But for now, we'll just talk about my physique, right? As a kid, I've probably set 4 or 5 major goals, like writing a date down and having an expectation. And if I'm being honest, I've fallen short all 5 of those times. And even now, objectively speaking, I'm not where I want to be. I've made progress since, over the past years, but I'm still not where I want to be. But I still try. And that's the topic of this video. What do you do when you've came short so many times? You just quit? You accept that you don't have the discipline and the right mindset, so you just stop? No. I could have given up so many times, you know. I was so disciplined, probably for 2 years I didn't miss one day of the gym. I always went to the gym no matter if I went at 12:30 at night or if I didn't work out in the morning. I always worked out at night, but I always worked out. I was so disciplined. I put in so much effort. I bought the pre-workout, the wrist straps, all of this. I put so much time and energy, and looking back at it, results wise, at least physical results, I didn't get much because my diet was trash. My sleep was trash. So I really made no physical gains. Strength gains did go up. My experience lifting did go up. Now I can work out with minimal equipment and still have a good workout. So I did gain, but the main thing that I wanted was my physical appearance to go up, and I fell short. And you can either look at it two ways. You can become despondent, meaning lose faith in yourself, start doubting yourself, give up, quit. Or you can look at it how I look at it. What can I do to. Obviously, for the past 4 years, my formula has not been working, right? Because if it did, I would already made way more gains. But objectively speaking, my formula was not it. So, what I do, and what I think you guys should do, is look at what you do and look at where you went wrong. And don't just say, "Oh, cause I'm lazy," or "cause I'm weak," cause I have no. Don't look at it that way. But look at your environment. Look at your routine. Look at your decision, your thinking when it comes to decision making, and try to almost edit that. You know, look at it like I said in my past videos. Look at it like if you're a scientist, where just make those tweaks, right? Maybe working out at night doesn't work for you, then make time in the day to work out. But the point is, I think a lot of us quit. A lot of us look at other people. I know I've fallen victim to this, where I look at other people, they've been working out for a year and a half, and they're in way better shape than I am. And there's this little voice in my head that's like the little victim that's saying like, "Oh, they just have something that I don't. I'm the problem. I'm the one that's cooked. I question myself." There's that little voice that wants to do that. And I think for most of us, I'm talking about all aspects of life when I'm speaking, but I'm just relating it to working out. But a lot of us listen to that little voice and we think, "Oh, that's just how I was born. I was just born lazy. I don't have the right genes, you know, which won't get us anywhere." And I make the conscious decision to not accept that way of thinking, because that thinking gets you nowhere. That thinking's lame. I'm gonna just be honest. It is lame. It is boring to think that way. I would feel way worse about, like, I do kind of feel bad that I haven't achieved my goals. I failed many of times, but I would feel way worse simply just quitting and doing nothing with that time. Because the way I look at it, you know, I sometimes do overthink. And I think like, wow, to get this physique, I'm gonna have to be disciplined, work out for 2 years straight. Even though I've already done it, even thinking about it into the future is stressful. And I think, wow, like I'm gonna have to work out for 2 years and have a strict diet and maintain good sleep all for 2 years to get a glimpse of the results I want, which is such a bad way of thinking because it just overwhelms you so much. Our brain can't process 2 years in the future in this moment right now. You gotta take it day by day. And when you think about it, like how I did, you just cook yourself. You just cook yourself because you overwhelm yourself. But the more positive way of thinking is thinking about like the time's gonna pass either way. Like these days, for as long as I'm alive, those days are going to pass. And I can either work out, because I can only work out once a day. I can only do one chest day a day. I can't, I can only do what I can do today. So I might as well do that because the time is going to pass either way. And you really have to like kind of like fortify that, those steaks with the heat things. You have to imprint that way of thinking on your brain because you can be so motivated, right? And that's how I was. I was so motivated and I was so frustrated with how I've been, my behavior patterns, and I'm like, I'm never gonna miss a day. I'm gonna eat clean. I'm never gonna eat junk food. And then the next day I'm eating junk food. The next day I'm up on my phone getting 4 hours of sleep. That is not conducive to my gains, the gains that I was so motivated to get. So that's what I'm saying. You need to curate this mindset and curate kind of this, like I would say, almost like a quote that speaks to you, that's going to be with you, that's going to be your rock when, let's say, you're feeling lazy or you're running off your emotions. That's the problem too, is that a lot of us run on just emotions. We let our emotions dictate our actions. And like I've talked about in previous videos, your emotions are all over the place. So if you let your actions be influenced by your emotions, then you'll be all over the place in life. You'll look back and you'll realize 2 years from now, like what I did, what happened to me, I haven't really made no gains. Because when food was in front of me, I couldn't have the discipline. I was emotional, I was excited, and I ate the food. So guess what? My body fat's still gonna stay on me. Simple as that. And that's with anything in life. Anything in life. We have the control to put forth the action, edit our ways of thinking, edit our environment, edit our reality with our brain. We can literally do that with our brain. That's kind of the whole point of my channel, is that our brains have so much power, and it has so much power to improve our life, and it has so much power to destroy our life. And if you want to let it destroy your life, then you'll be run off emotions. You'll be mean to yourself. You'll tell yourself, "Oh, I'm just born that way. I was born lazy. I was born to eat a lot. I was born fat." It's like, no. Take some accountability. And I'm talking to myself too, when I'm saying this, because I'm not perfect. And I have to this is something that you have to keep reminding yourself every day. And trust me, it gets easier. The ball gets rolling a lot smoother when you put days, you stack your days, right, doing the thing you want to do, because it just becomes easier. It becomes a part of your habit. They say it takes 21 days to build a habit. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know if that's true, but I've just heard that. So I don't know if that's true, but I'm gonna just say that to say that. But that's how I look at it when it comes to achieving goals. And that's how I handle facing the reality that I've fallen short a lot of times. In my young life, I've fallen short a decent amount of times. But I'm not going to let that define me, because I have however long I'm allowed to live. I have all that time ahead of me. Ideally, it's a lot of years. I hope so. But every day I wake up, I'm going to take advantage. I'm going to do the things that are important to me. I'm not going to become despondent and be a little victim, because that'll get you nowhere in life, you know. And also, last thing, this might be cope, right? Because I've failed a lot of times, especially when it comes to a certain I need to be something by a certain date. I really don't like to put a time limit on when things should be done, when I should achieve certain things. Because like I said, I think I got caught in this loop, so I think this might just be my cope. But I don't put time limits because, let's say, June 26, 2027, right? That's the date I'm making this video. I want to have 10,000 subscribers. If I'm being honest, the subscribers are out of my control. I cannot click the subscribe button 10,000 times. So that's one reason why I don't put a time limit on things kind of that, like, obviously I have to put in the work. I'm in control of how many videos I post and what I talk about, and improving my life to improve these the video quality, but I can't control the 10,000 people clicking the subscribe button. So let's say June 26, 2027 comes back, or not comes back, but we reach that day hopefully. Back then, I mean, not now with my mindset, but in this hypothetical, I'm all over the place. But anyways, I'm trying to say that maybe not reaching your goals in a certain time frame, that'll kind of unmotivate you. That'll make you doubt yourself more. You can fall into this cycle, and let's say, I'm speaking from experience, I didn't reach my goal, right? The Snapchat memory came up from a year ago, I didn't reach my goal. I got so angry, and I was so motivated to reach my goals, and the same thing happened, and the same thing happened, and the same thing happened. And when you look at it like that, where you're trying to reach one goal by a specific time, you just value what you want, the prize. All you do is value the prize. You don't value all the little lessons you've learned along the way. Like for me, working out, I've learned so much, even though I haven't made no physical gains like I wanted to. I've learned so much. I've built the discipline. This mindset that I have now, I had to fail to be able to learn and implement this way of thinking that now is more healthy, that I am now getting more results out of. But when you look at it just by a time frame and the prize, you don't realize all of the knowledge you've gained or all the habits that you have built. There's like no water in there. But yeah, that might be cope, but that's how I operate. After failing a decent amount of times, that's how I operate, and I've noticed that for me, it's helped. So, if you're falling short on your goals, you're not cooked, you're not a chud, you're good. Just revise, put forth action, and just evolve. That's the point, to evolve. If you're learning and if you're gaining things and you're grateful, then you got it. That's all that matters. So if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, like, comment, share, do all that. Thank you for listening.